Mika Buchan and welcome to Making Tracks. This week we're on the mid-north coast of New South Wales, which is where I spent my barefoot, freckle-faced summers as a kid. Starting here in Port Macquarie, we make our way 290 kilometres south to Port Stephens, where I'm meeting up with iFish's Paul Worsling, who's the guy that knows where the fishies are biting. And I'm taking the Jayco Expander because it is small to tow and big to live in. This week, we'll start at Port Macquarie, travel south to Nabiac, Pacific Palms and Port Stephens. On the way, we'll jet out to sea, go skydiving without jumping from a plane, visit the Green Cathedral and go fishing with a TV legend.
Oh! I see a bend in your rod!
18 beaches dot the rocky coastline of Port Macquarie at the mouth of the Hastings River. It's a relaxed, unspoilt resort town and families love it. And the water is fringed with parkland. On the water, near the heart of town, I'm at the Sundowner Breakwall Tourist Park, setting up the Jayco Expander. It takes no time at all and I'm free to relax. When I was a kid coming to Port Macquarie for holidays, it was all about hitting the beach as soon as possible. But this part of Australia has some pretty unique history, and apparently one of the best ways to see it is at night. Convicts first arrived here in 1821, but tour guide Bruce Thompson makes it seem like yesterday.
It was the third penal settlement. It was remote, so they couldn't escape anywhere, and it was known as Hell on Earth. A lot of torture, a lot of murder went on here, a lot of corrupt officials were in charge of these poor convicts who were worked and flogged within an inch of their lives. Okay folks, welcome to the historic courthouse. This is the last surviving government building in Port Macquarie from the colonial era. It's also a haunted building. One of the staff that works here one night was staying back. She said she heard footsteps every 10 minutes going across the courtroom floor and then the front door bashing and banging violently. Let's move on.
Who have we got here?
Here lies Major James Henry Crummer. However, Major Crummer here was a revered war hero and he fought during the Napoleonic Wars. Now, he was a veteran of about 17 battles. They're listed down here, including, as you can see, the Battle of Waterloo.
That is phenomenal.
And they believe that just before Major James Henry Crummer died, very likely living right here in little old Port Macquarie, he was the last survivor in the world of the Battle of Waterloo.
That's a phenomenal story. Go Port Macquarie.
Now folks, my final story for the evening is appropriate to be told in a graveyard because it's about undertakers. On some of the insides of the coffin lids they found scratch marks. Now this means that some people have been buried alive. The reason being is they might have been brought in with a bad head injury and they thought they were dead, but they weren't. They were only in a coma. So they're boxed up and buried alive. So when this information was released to the general public, there was widespread panic. So the common folk made a request. They used to have a contraption installed in the grave. A rope was tied around the head of the corpse. It went out through the lid of the coffin, through the earth, to a bell on top of a post above the grave. If the person woke up in their grave, they would pull the rope, the bell would ring. He would race down with a shovel and he would save the person's life. And if you've ever stopped to wonder where the expression saved by the bell comes from, now you know.
So you're in absolutely no luck if you get cremated then, are you?
Bit too far gone then, I'm afraid.
The phrase, what goes up must come down, is never more true than when you're doing a road trip in Australia. And I've come across a very ominously steep hill. Luckily, I've got our four-wheel drive expert, Dave Miller, with me to help me get down safely. Dave, can I get down this thing?
I reckon you can, Mika. Yeah, but it's pretty steep.
It's pretty steep. What's my number one tip?
Well, you want to be in low range first gear, go as slow as possible, and we don't want to touch the brake too much.
Okay.
Do you reckon you can handle that?
I'm going to do my best.
Now we've deactivated the sway bar, Mika. It just gives us a bit of suspension travel. A unique feature on the Jeep. Nice and steep. You want to try and keep your car level as possible, and you want to look ahead down the track as much as possible. Beauty.
I've got a bit of a sweat up. This is fun, Dave. Wow, that's a proper steep hill. But I felt really, really stable in the Jeep. But Dave, what happens if you do actually start spinning out and losing control on a hill like that?
Yeah, look, you don't want to panic, Mika. You want to keep the wheels turning and don't slam on the brakes if you can.
Good advice. All right, thanks, Dave. Thanks, Jeep Wrangler. The gear you need. Coming up, jet boating and skydiving with a twist.